Well, it's been said over and over again that a girl's first love is her father. She falls in love with the father, and sometimes, maybe using myself as an example, the father becomes a standard. But when it comes to sex, how many fathers talk to their children, especially their daughters, about sex? My father didn't. I could talk to my father about everything, but I don't remember ever discussing sex with my father. Let me ask you, gentlemen, did you ever have a discussion about sex with your father?
Of course.
You did?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what did your father tell you about sex?
He was telling me about how, what it entails and your what you encountered during the sex and yeah, that's
At
it.
what age?
Like 11 years, 12 years.
Oh, okay. That's good. Now, I'm coming back here. What about you?
Well, my father never talked about sex with me. I mean, we never had a conversation concerning anything sex. Yeah, but my mom did at some point in time. But I felt that at that time, I already knew more than she knew.
That's a good one. What about you, Sylvia? Does your dad talk to you about sex?
No. He doesn't. He doesn't talk to me about sex. And mom, no. Parents with sex is a no-go area.
Regent University. What about you?
My father never talked to me about sex or anything in that category, but I've had that talk with my mom.
You've had that talk with your mom.
Yeah.
Well, so when it comes to the ladies and sex, that no-go area. I think even at the age of 35, my father expected me to be a virgin, but that's another discussion for another day. But today we are going to look at fathers, the role of a father in the life of a daughter when it comes to talking about sex and letting her understand her sexuality. We all know what has happened in recent times in our country. The sex tapes, the nude pictures. Some of them that I've had the privilege to talk to, they did it out of love. Out of love. They felt so loved by these young men that they totally depended and believed in them. They never expected that this will happen. Let's talk about sex. That is our topic for discussion today. And I'd like to say thank you to GTP New Style for my cloth and Ophelia Crossline Designs for my dress. I'd also like to say thank you to Fitzmark Accessories for my jewelry. That's my beads. And of course, my hair is by Crisel Enterprise. We'll be back. Welcome back to The Standpoint. If you just joined us today, we are talking about sex and sex between a father and a daughter. No, not in that sense. The sex talk between the father and a daughter. Yes, I know what you're thinking, but that's not what the talk. The talk, as they put it. The talk. And I have 3 fathers here. And we are going to find out how you fathers out there who don't know how to do it, you can go about it, and how important it is for you to have the talk, especially with your daughter. And seated right opposite me is Sheikh Mohammed Husseini Bagaya. He is an imam and a TV presenter, and he's a father of a beautiful daughter. Daddy's girl.
That's right.
She's become daddy's handbag.
Absolutely.
Everywhere. The question,
Absolutely.
Daddy, where are you going? Daddy,
Everywhere.
when are you coming?
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
That's right.
Good to have you back on the Standpoint.
Thank you.
And next to Sheikh, I have Dr. Aite. He is an obstetrician, gynecologist, and a father. He's a counselor. There are a lot of things I learned from him, listening to him on radio and on TV, that has nothing to do with gynecology or medicine, And you have daughters?
I have 3 sons.
3 sons, okay. So yeah.
Teenagers.
Teenagers too. Oh, well done. good to have you back on the standpoint.
Thank you.
Next to Dr. Aite, I have Mr. Emmanuel Asampong. He's a clinical psychologist and a lecturer. The man I never let him go to bed. Anybody who comes to me needs a clinical psychologist. Yes, go straight to, yeah. Right. Dr. Aite, it's like fathers don't even want to think about the fact that their daughters are having sex.
To your parents, you're always a child. It doesn't matter how old you are, you are still a child. So it takes them a while before they realize that, oh, yeah. When I was getting married, my father said I was too young to get married. Then I reminded him that I'm getting married 1 year later than he got married. He told me, yes, but we were more mature in those days. And I said, so we had a bit of a discussion.
Right.
And then eventually he said, go ahead and go and get married. And of course, my father's of the school of the fact that if you're going to get married, it means you are ready.
Yeah.
So he's wearing his suit and he's coming, and that's all he's doing.
Okay.
Yes, and, we have that respect that
Right.
to him, a man must be a man.
Right.
So if you're going to play,
Yeah.
you are playing men games.
Okay.
Therefore, you must be ready to
Don't
handle
expect anything
men
from me.
consequences.
Yes.
So when I was 15, my sex talk was, if you make a woman pregnant, I'll use your school fees to look after that child, and you go to work, because now you are a man. End of discussion. It was a simple, to the point, but you knew that Charlie.
He means business.
He means business. My father too, he can do it. But it's a difficult thing. That entire, you still think your child is a child. And the fact that to think that a child has grown up to that stage to now be doing that kind of things. And some parents too, like he rightly said, I would say that most parents don't talk about it because their parents didn't talk to them about it. Simple and straightforward. And you're also worried about the fact that if I start talking about it, I'm bringing her mind to those things. And she wasn't thinking that way. Well, I'm sorry to disappoint the parents. She's been thinking that way for a long time.
And Sheikh, even when some girls have their menses, their fathers panic. She's too young. What happened? How can she have her menses at this age? And just the thought of it. Even some men get angry when they see their wives talking to their daughters about sex. For a man who has a daughter, it's a difficult issue to discuss, right?
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent and the Merciful, we thank Him for Moses, for Jesus, and for Muhammad. This is a very, very difficult subject to discuss. Why? Because ours is a very conservative community or society. We hardly ever want to step outside the borders or say things we're not used to saying, particularly between ourselves and our kids. Kids, like Doc says early on, are always kids, regardless. I remember I was having a conversation with my mom lately, and she noticed I'm starting to gray in my beard. And she's like, that's gray in your beard. I said, like, yeah, I'm growing. She said, but you're a small boy. I said, but I'm growing. You know, they hardly ever notice that you really are growing, and so certain things has to be introduced to you. With our daughters, where I come from, you mentioned the issue of what is it? Woman seeing her menstruation.
Menstruation, yeah.
Every juristic teaching you consider in Islam mentioned the menstrual cycle of a female. Indeed, these are teachings taught by men, not women, in Islamic circles. So you wonder why these same men wouldn't want to speak to their daughters about issues bordering sex. Ours is a religion that says a girl, or it is claimed that Islam says, a girl could get married as early as 12. Now, if you don't introduce a 12-year-old girl to sex education, how do you get to prepare her mind for sex itself in her matrimonial home? And whose duty do you think it is to prepare her mind? When you are a religious person, whether you are a Jewish person, Christian, Muslim, you understand properly your responsibility as a father, not just here on earth. On the day of judgment, you are accountable for it. That implies that if anything should go wrong with your child, you are responsible and accountable before God. Her upbringing is absolutely your responsibility. And sex inclusive, the education about sex is seriously inclusive, because in the end, she'll get out of your house. and stay with somebody else. Or she lives in a bigger society away from that, small, setup where she's used to. Today we have a situation where the information age teaches children a lot more things than the parents could teach them.
Yeah.
So she knows things even before you speak about
Yeah.
it. A girl
Just like
mentioned it
when,
here.
she
Absolutely.
said she
She's-
realized that she knew more about sex than her mother.
She's been introduced by the internet, by the telephones, by what do you call that? WhatsApp, by
Yes.
stuff like that.
Yes.
They know things more than the parents do. So I think it's a little hypocritical when parents refuse to talk to their daughters, particularly their daughters, about sex. You notice she's growing, her hormones are building, she's taking a serious feminine shape, and you sit by and say, wow, my daughter is growing up beautifully. What are you doing about that? And that's a multi-million-dollar question we should answer.
Dr. Ite, how important is it for a father to have that sex talk with a daughter, especially the daughter?
They say when you marry a woman, every baggage, everything she comes with is as a result of her father. After 5 years of marriage, everything she is as a result of you.
Okay. Okay.
If the woman enters as a beast, it is from her father's fault.
Okay.
If after 5 years of marriage, she now becomes a beast, it is your fault.
Okay.
But for a woman, her first impression of a man is her father. Now, the father may be a bad example, like he was. That's not necessarily a father is a good example. But but the first example that she sees of a man, and of a relationship between a man and a woman, and of how a man treats a woman,
Right.
is from her father. I'm not sure fathers recognize the fact that that is one of their rules. And therefore, they must lead a certain kind of example for their children to be able to, for their daughters especially, to be able to emulate.
Right.
Now, if you have a father who talks to you, explains things to you, spends time with you, pays attention to your needs, you are fulfilled in a certain manner.
Yeah.
If somebody comes and starts trying to be nice to you, there's no gap in your life that person can fill.
Right.
Because your need for love is filled by your father. You understand? There are girls in this country. If you tell them, oh, your bottom looks nice, she'll tell you, oh, yes, my father told me this morning.
Thank you.
So, I mean...
In fact, mine is the day I was born, my father said, I have a beautiful daughter.
So, all these things you are going to say, you have to be extraordinary.
Yeah.
You understand? There's a story I'll tell you off air.
Okay.
When we're in university. But there are things like these that if the father can play that role. Now, if he's able to playing that role also means sitting down with your daughter and having a chat with her about, as you are growing up, you will have these urges. You should have them fulfilled at the right time in life. You are going to be having sex for the next 50 years. Right. There's no need to hurry and start now.
Yeah.
This thing that your friends are chasing for, in 5 years, they'll be running away.
Yeah.
So pace yourself. It's a marathon. It's trying to explain to her as to what the whole sex business is about and why it must be done at the right time with the right person in the right place.
Right.
When you can handle all the repercussions and things that come with it. The truth of the matter is, if you are not her source of that information, somebody else will be.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that person's view is going to be what that child grows up with. And we have a significant problem right now with pornography and the easy access there is to pornography. And the reason and why pornography now is very bad for sex. Because it gives you a totally warped view as to what sex is like.
Some assaulting and all that.
It's a totally warped view. I mean, I was reading an article this morning about this guy who has listed 10 different reasons why pornography is bad for sex, because this is what they do in porn, but in real sex, that is not how real sex is like. And at the end of the day, if your sex education is from pornography, and an American should tell you about 90% of 12 to 15 years olds have seen pornography. So if you think at 12 your child is too young, or at 15 your child is too young, well, I'm sorry, by that age, when you call the child and say, let's talk about sex, the child will tell you, mother, what do you want to know? Because I think I know
more than you do.
More than you.
Yeah.
I find it weird that you have a daughter you can't communicate with effectively. And you still want to own her in a way, like she's yours. You understand? Like you gave birth to her and you still think she should respect you for some reason. You understand?
Don't have sex, that is it.
I don't I just don't get it. You know, but I think we need to start cutting down from this conservative way of thinking and get relaxed a little bit with our children, particularly the daughters, and be able to connect effectively with them. Information is very important. Now it is everywhere. It is everywhere. And sometimes you wonder how, I mean, you just can't control it. The best way to tackle it is to just make sure your children are very
communication.
Yes.
I know you want to come in. Let me take a short break. When we come back, we'll continue this discussion because let's talk about sex, Dad. Well, the Standpoint is sponsored by
Goel Good Energy, Fortune Rice, the right rice.
Vital, making life memorable.
We also like to say thank you to Paba Cosmetics. They provide our makeup products, and Makeup and More actually applies the makeup for us. This program is also aired on ABN TV on Sky Channel 235 in the UK, across Western Europe, Asia, North Africa, and parts of Canada. If you miss any episode of The Standpoint, just go to our website, www.thestandpoint.com.gh. It is powered by Dream Oval. We'll be back. Welcome back to The Standpoint. Brahima. Well, I didn't even ask you, do you have a daughter?
Yes, I have. My first child is a
daughter.
Girl, yeah.
Okay. How old is she now?
She'll be 10 next month.
Okay.
Yeah.
She's coming. Okay. She'll get to the teen very soon.
Definitely.
Now, how should you go about it as a father?
Well, I think that the problems are there, you know, like we've all talked about. But there's a very compelling reason why we should be able to talk to them about sexuality. Years ago, girls were having their menstruation at 17, 18.
Yeah.
And now, what is it? If I'm not mistaken, I'm sure 11.
11
We even have instances where 10-year-olds.
Yeah.
And that alone is an indication that biologically they will be matured. And so all the hormonal things that adults will experience, they are also experiencing. The only thing is that they may not be, if you like, socially ready, you know, to do things like that. But those things that they feel will be there. So then it is necessary for parents to get closer and talk to them, you know, that, well, this you don't do, this you do, this if you do it this way, this is what is going to happen. Unfortunately, you know, again, because of some of the reasons we talked about earlier on, you think that, oh, you do not want to start talking about that. It's always difficult for all of us, really, to be talking about sex and be using some of the terminologies.
Yes, yeah.
Especially if you were using any of the local dialects and you want to talk about a female genital organ. It's very difficult to do that. So that sense, you know, would kind of like form a barrier for most people not wanting to talk about it. I would want to talk about it because I would rather do that for, you know, the girl to be involved in anything like that. I will not feel too disappointed because I did my part.
Okay.
But if I don't do and something like that happens, then I'll carry that burden for the rest of my life. So I think that we've gotten to a point where no matter what the circumstances are, we should be able to talk to them.
Have you had the talk with your daughter?
They will even come and be asking questions. There are questions as to when won't you have another child, you and mommy? What is informing that? You know, because then I'm expecting that, oh, won't mommy have a child? Again, but won't you and mommy have a child? Meaning that it doesn't take one person to make a child. You know, so we should not.
No, I'm asking you, have you had a talk with your daughter, your 10-year-old?
Oh, yes. We talk about it.
You know, Dr. Ite, you're a gynecologist, and I'm sure you've dealt with a lot of cases, like that. I can imagine a father's agony when you realize your young child has contracted or has HIV and had it through sex. That's maybe 15 years and below, or even 18. I mean, HIV, whatever age you get it, common with syphilis, and has had unsafe abortion, and her womb is damaged, and the father or mother sit and wonders, like, I mean, when did it happen? Do we get the importance of having the sex talk, especially with our daughters?
For most people, when the problem happens, they start looking for all kinds of reasons, friends, this, that. But they never look at the fact that how well did you equip this child to be able to confront the temptation, wherever it came from, at that particular point in time.
Right.
A child is a child. And if a child makes a mistake, it's a parent's responsibility, because it means you didn't prepare that child adequately enough, or you didn't bring up that child well enough. I believe parents should be held responsible for what their children have done, because I mean, if you cannot hold the child responsible, well, somebody brought up that child. And that kind of stuff. But for a lot of parents, it is when it happens, then they start trying to put in remedial measures, and the remedial measures can be, very, very, very difficult, very challenging, and sometimes very dangerous. I've seen a girl comes to mind who died because of this kind of situation. She was living with an aunt. Got pregnant. The aunt was like, "Hey, your mother will kill me." Took her for an abortion. Was infected. Long story. The girl died. Terrible circumstance, and I can never forget that girl and that circumstance. But parents, but you see the problem. This happened. This girl died. Look at the problems that we've had recently with this whole Tamale incident, which is different from people who filmed themselves with consent.
Right.
Which we'll have to talk about, because it's the height of stupidity to go and be stealing an apple and then film yourself stealing the apple. And then if tomorrow somebody gets the film and gives it to the police and they arrest you, then you are crying. What is wrong with you? But that's a different issue. The people who are filmed maybe without their consent, or people who are having sex, inappropriately, let's put it mildly. The parents, like we are seeing right now, the girls are being chastised, they are being blasted, they are being humiliated. But here's the thing. Did their parents teach them that this can happen and don't do this? Did their parents, each of those children, which of their parents had a sex talk with them? Which of them can say, I told you and you still went and did it? So it's upon your head.
They'll still say, I told you, because they told them that don't have sex.
No. They didn't equip them to be able to handle all these temptations that came their way. Obviously, if you've shown somebody how to write and the person still cannot write, is it that you thought you didn't teach the person well, or the person is stupid? If the person is stupid, it's your child, though. That means you've transferred your stupidity. So if you know you haven't transferred your stupidity, that means you didn't teach the child well enough. In communication, one speaks, the other one listens. There is the responsibility of the speaker to ensure the listener has heard.
Yeah.
You understand?
Clear terms.
In clear terms. So this age appropriate thing you're talking about, it is appropriate to that child's mental age, whatever the age of the child is mentally. In other words, the language the child can understand. These kinds of things happen because most parents haven't told their children that these are the challenges out there. And when somebody comes and tells you this, you should recognize the fact that it is this he wants. Because if he really loves you, love waits. Love is patient. Love, if you say, love me, and these are my conditions. If you love me, there will be no sex, so I still love you, that is love. If you say, I love you, so but no sex, if you don't give me sex, it means you don't love me. No, that is not love. But if the parents are going to have those conversations with the children, when they are told these things, know that, this is not. When their friends come and say, you must do it. After all, you have to show him that you love him. I've been told this thing long time. Like the Krobos will say, Adebi Momo.
Adebi Momo. Adebi Momo. This is an old trick.
It's an old trick.
This one, I know
this one. But it is up to us as parents to communicate. Because if we don't tell them, No, the recent events makes you even think that some people think it is okay for them to be filming themselves. They don't realize that tomorrow you'll be standing as MP. And when you're standing as MP and somebody brings your sex tape, when you are coming for an interview and you've come, you're a top candidate, and somebody says, oh, this person you're employing, when you're listening, he has this tape there. It is finished.
And we live in a very unforgiving society. And I think for every parent or every father, responsible father who takes care of his child through education, you would wish or you'd want your child to grow up to be somebody that you'll be so proud of.
Ajay Gifty.
Sheikh.
I'll start with the sin thing. God finds time to invest more in sinners than he does in saints. That is a fact I must make people understand. He has time for sinners than he has for people who think they are upright, straight, and clean. Having said that, the Tamale incident, I'm very passionate about it. Now, you notice the majority of these girls are Muslims. And the guy involved himself is a Muslim. These are girls sent to universities, or the UDA specifically, to study, to come out as good citizens and productive citizens of a country. And better still, help their region, the northern, upper east, upper west, develop it and grow. So we're looking at future leaders when we send them into the tertiary institutions to study. Now, I like to say this emphatically here and now. I think for some of us as Muslims are playing self-righteous hypocrites by not wanting to discuss sex with our daughters. We have a preamble in the Quran that discusses sex life. He says, your wives are your gardens. Go into your gardens as you so wish. Now, and this as you so wish thing is discussing sex angles. Even, that's right, as you want to have sex with your own wife.
Yeah.
And he says, and then send the emissary before your own self, talking about foreplay. Now, every child reads the Quran in every Muslim home. Every child might have come across this verse at one point or the time. Now, when they ask you questions bordering this very verse, how do you get to explain it to the girl child? We have imams.
Do they even have the confidence to ask you?
We have imams who don't want to talk about sex. We have magajias, chiefs, and community elders who would not even want to talk about sex. It's because it is ingrained in us as a people. It's a no-go area. Don't go there. Yet, I'll give you a perfect example. Look, where I live, for instance, my own people, the Zongo people, you have girl children getting pregnant every now and then. Girls not married. These are girls living with their parents, giving birth to children out of wedlock or stuff like that. And you watch as they keep reproducing and reproducing, and people sit unconcerned. It is so because fundamentally, information is not getting across to these. They don't know anything. They just don't know it. They've been raised in a way that allows for them to think that, you know, getting romantically intimate with a young man is love. And for me, that is a bad excuse. Sometimes you find a girl child in a corner somewhere with a young man hitting her like a drum. And even as you attempt to separate them, the girl will tell you, walk away. It is not your business. Just walk away. And
because he loves me. That's
of course. That is why he's hating me. I get sick when I see some of these things. And you want to, when you question a parent, why don't you speak to your daughter about this? How can we can't do anything, no. Who tells you can't do anything about it? It's about time we sit them down, start talking about it. It is so because God spoke of it. The prophet spoke of it. He instructed you to speak of it. And why are you not speaking about it? I have a daughter who is just 5, and she walks up to me and say, Daddy, will baby mommy? And that is a serious question. Yeah. You know, will baby mommy? I mean, give me a brother. You understand? A 5-year-old daughter, just 5. And when I look...
Sheikh, let me put you on the spot. You want a son. That is why you said, so, well, baby mommy is give me a baby, not give me a brother.
Gifty.
Sheikh, you want a son.
Gifty.
I put it to you that, Sheikh, you are looking for a son.
Oh, I want what God will give me.
I need to go and talk to your wife.
I want what God will give me.
You have met her life.
I think I'm right. I have a daughter and I think I need a son. You know, so
just by the way,
when I think of it, sometimes I get seriously. And then again, the challenge, let me say this, the challenge for every Muslim scholar watching this show today is your ability to break down an information that is as old as 1400 years old and bring it to contemporary situations and solve problems. That is your challenge. If you have a verse that discusses sex, find a nice way of getting it informed to the people. If you don't want to talk, if you think the language is too heavy for children to understand, break it down. That is your challenge as a Muslim scholar. Get to the makarantes, get to the schools, get to the mosques, get to the homes, get people informed about it, because like it or not, bad things are happening in the society and it's our responsibility to fix it. And it starts by talking.
And Dr. Aide, do we know the consequences of not doing this?
The question every father should ask yourself, if your child has a question about sex, will she come to you? If she has a question, who will she go to first? Who will she go to second and third? And if you don't place yourself in the top 5, it is your responsibility today to make yourself the number 1.
You're watching The Standpoint. The Standpoint is sponsored by
Goel Good Energy. Fortune Rice. The right rice.
Vital, making life memorable.
Makeup by Paba Cosmetics, applied by Makeup and More. Dream Oval powers our website www.thestandpoint.com.gh. Matame is actually created this set with beautiful pots. We take a break, we'll be back. Well, welcome back to The Standpoint. Let me quickly ask Mr. Sample, do you wait for your child to come to you to hint to you that he or she knows something about sex before you start, or you need to take the initiative?
Well, I think
as a father,
you have to take the initiative because, and this is proven, I mean, when children get to that age, those teen age, there is always that tendency for them to drift towards their friends more than their parents. So they tend to discuss, especially things bordering on, this boy has written to me, you know, those things with their friends. And I mean, like it is always, their friends also don't have the right information to provide to them. So it's always important that the parents would rather initiate, you know, some communication and find out what they know. I mean, for all you know, it may be right. If it's not right, that's an opportunity for you to correct you know, those rough edges.
Okay.
To the ladies, there is a saying that your background shouldn't be the reason why your back should always be on the ground.
I like
so
that
they should
one.
consider certain things. At least if they don't consider anything, they should consider faith.
Parents don't actually create the room for us to go to them and ask them certain questions, because I can't just walk up to mommy and say, "Mommy, hey, mommy, today I'm honey." How can I say that?
I quite remember when I was growing up, my dad was in the washroom one time and I just walked in and he was bathing actually. And it caused me a lot of emotional trauma. For a very long time, I couldn't eat. I was shy. So I'm sure if he had said something about that to me earlier, that wouldn't have really actually caused me that kind of emotional trauma. They are not doing as good.
Too many girls have got very bad first sexual encounters. But most people, unfortunately, have got, the ladies especially, have got bad sexual encounters. And like I was, it wasn't with the right person, it wasn't with the right place, it wasn't at the right time in their lives. But one of the ones that really touched me was a lady that I got to know years later on, who told me about her first sexual encounter, where she went to this boy's house and the boy locked the door and said, "I'll not let you go out unless you have sex with me." And after talking, the girl said, "I got tired. I said you should just do it and let me go." I felt sad. That how can this be your first sexual encounter? No, I've known people who their first sexual encounter was so wonderful and so great, and they couldn't even remember that there was even any pain involved, and because of how great it was. You have no, if your parents have used the opportunity to sit down with you, to talk to you, to prepare you, you would not be in that room for him to be locking his door and saying you can't go out. You will not be, me and this guy, we are going out, but you come and see me off. Then they will bring your friends, then the two of them will disappear. Then you will be left alone there. Those kind of things will not happen. You understand? The girls are laughing. They've heard all those things before.
And Sheikh, about the information and friends. There's another one who also broke her virginity because her friend said, oh, they should do it together.
How could you get yourself influenced by a friend? Come on, let's do it because I also want to do it. I mean,
she's not empowered.
Yeah.
She hasn't got that knowledge.
She's not equipped. She's not equipped.
It's why it's like, you know, social something.
I know from my own background, I know homes where daughters can never get closer to their parents, let alone sit in the middle of dad and mom, you know, lie on dad's lap, lie on mom's shoulder, have a conversation, throw herself about. When was the last time your dad, you know, gave you a hug or gave you a peck on the cheek or said, daughter, my daughter, I love you? When was the last time your dad did all of these things to you? For some girls, the first time she heard, I love you, it's like, oh my God. It's all because she's never been told those beautiful words before. So you look beautiful. Really? She's never been told, you know, because the information is not coming. You know, parents should start talking. When you have a daughter who is of age, let's put it that way, she's working out in the morning, find some time to have some small talk before she walks out. When she comes back, listen to your daughter. You know, they are really like the young girl here. They want to talk to you, but you don't make room for them to get across you. And that is very, very unfortunate. Very, very unfortunate.
Yes, I want to reinforce what Sheikh has said. I mean, parenting now has become very difficult. We must accept that. And then the children we have these days, I mean, I have this thing I say jokingly that, I mean, once we feed them with fast food, they have also become fast children. And it appears that, you know, the rate at which they know things and are able to learn things, it's important that as parents, we also keep abreast with their pace. Because if you don't, I mean, they are using certain terminologies that you really cannot understand. Because she said that honeyed, and I'm like, well, do you now have BC? You know, so we also need to teach ourselves. You know, sometimes just listen to them, engage them, and you get to know some of the terms that they are using. And you know, when you are talking to adolescent girls, and you tend to use their words, I mean, the words that they are very comfortable with, they really put themselves into it, you know, and it's more acceptable to them, you know. So I think that parents should try and educate themselves, learn more, and it's also important that people just don't go into it because, look, my friend is doing it, and it's not an easy thing. So you really should be prepared.
I love the one my brother said. It has become very difficult to become a parent today. You know, some kids out there know more than what you think you know. I mean, you're just a dad, you know. For them, he's just a dad, you know. But they know a lot more than you know. So,
but you need to be a hip dad.
Of course, a funky one of that.
A funky dad.
Absolutely.
You know.
Absolutely.
WhatsApp dad.
Yeah.
Sheikh, you are not on WhatsApp.
I'm on the level.
Well,
my 70+ father is on WhatsApp, so.
Well,
he sends me messages once in a while.
Let's talk about sex, Dad. If you've not been talking to your child, especially your daughter, about sex, take this as an opportunity to actually do that. I dare you, in fact, I challenge you to make sure you start from today. It's not easy, as you said, but it must be done. It must definitely be done. Well, I say thank you to GTP New Star for my cloth, Ophelia crossline design for the dress, and of course, Fist Mug accessories for my beads, and Crisel Enterprise for my hair. Thank you to Matames for the pots, and thank you to Gastro Catering Services for providing our catering needs. Thank you for coming, young ladies and gentlemen, and hopefully we are taking it from here. Even if your father didn't tell you, didn't have the talk, you should know better from now onwards. Dare them, go to them, confront them, ask them about it. Insist that you have the talk. Yeah, they will say that I'm training you to be rebels, but it's good. Let's be rebellious. Let's go to the fathers with a message. Ask them all the questions because they are the men and they can tell us the truth about men if we believe in our fathers. Thanks for watching. See you same time next week. Bye for now.